Being over nearly a decade old, Tribesascend was a unique game of its arena-based combat genre. Ascend was actually a reboot of an old franchise in the late 90s of now an archaic game design. Arena-based shooters were actually dominated by Doom and Quake on the PC. Locked in a small arena with limited supplies, you find yourself dancing around the map at high speeds to try to get better weapons and armor to kill the other opponent. Now the game series Tribes took this concept and popularized the idea of making this design airborne. Tribes took what made these games fun and just went crazy. It had hard-hitting and precise gunplay, high-speed movement across entire battlefield. Tribesascend was expanding and honing on key parts that made this series a classic, dubbing a new genre of games to follow suit. The movement shooter. I actually think I just pulled my leg muscle doing that. We've been out all night in your first car. Yeah, the moon's full lights up the rose park. Now the music got booming, couples up. You set this up for us, yeah, this is up for us. Sitting at the right tree. Look at how this melody. Tears I can see from a movie. Tears I can see from a movie. I turn around, to my surprise, you're on one knee. What are you doing? Never forget what are you doing? Players soon found that focusing more and more on high-speed movement rather than the gunplay-focused combat of these games will make more unique openings and entry points to a gunfight that you might not have had otherwise. This, in turn, created a new skill set that players could focus on, rather than just solely controlling recoil or learning the armory, or sitting on the edge of the map, hit scanning every light armored pathfinder who crossed your screen. Tribes had the speed and the gunplay, but added more and more objectives around the map and made a team of 20 plus dipshits try and coordinate. In Tribesascend, there are now 3 types of armor available. A disgusting change from what the 12 class types used to be in the game. A change from the devs trying to simplify the game. There's light, heavy, and medium, with an out-of-the-blue update that overhauled every single class type and redacted all of the orbital strikes available for large-scale attacks, adding an extra weapon slot to each class while also making armor sets completely customizable. This update stripped away most of the casual players who were just playing at the surface level, not wanting to learn the real core mechanics of the class system of an already dying game. It left Tribesascend in a bit of a weird spot because it just had its core and mainly competitive players. This meant practically nullifying any new audience coming into the free-to-play model of Tribesascend. New players were met with Tribes veterans within a few minutes of a half-stacked lobby. These guys were dominating the flags, your generator was always down, and you were constantly grey screened by this dumb fuck piece of shit spinfuser. Later on, in the months of the death of Tribes, the listing on Steam was soon moved to the status unlisted, which stopped the growth for the game. Now, what exists is locked servers for pugs from invite-only discords. For years, the fanbase slowly and surely rippled away into the seams, finding other games or just in fact stopped playing Tribes as a fucking game. The only community that was thriving for its really unique game of its time abandoned by the company that successfully revived a dead franchise to then only repeat the mistakes what once was. However, the 13th of March 2024 sees new life of the franchised masterpiece. Tribes 3 Rivals returns to the many old assets in a new light, reviving once again the highly ambitious player base for a more refined version, it seems like. A new look for the quite gritty and grungy aesthetic that Ascend actually had. Tribes Rivals sees the combat more faster, maps smaller and more dense, projectiles hitting harder. The very promising early access title is a refreshing blast for many, with Discord sprouting up overnight with hundreds of players just wanting to enjoy the franchise shooter over and over again. We're seeing new and a lot of old faces actually. A lot of them were veterans of Ascend. So amazing for a player base. You have no idea. The player base was so small in Tribesascend, all the servers were joined together. So you would get people from like the US and Indonesia playing with people on Australian servers, which is, it was dog shit for combat, but like we made some fucking friends, man. It was a player base that came together to try and keep a dying game alive, but it didn't happen. You know what did happen? Tribes 3 Rivals. Bring back the orbital strike. Tribes 3 sees annoying assets like vehicles and cooldown strikes that plagued Ascend for a more competitive approach to the games, introducing new class systems and abilities to the Pathfinder, which is the Flash ability. But now, with a more battle-hardened audience for the Tribes game, expectations are higher than ever. Seeing mixed reviews all over the place, people are complaining that this isn't a one-to-one copy for the ever so popular Ascend title. Others are complaining that it didn't separate itself further away. So, I am glad the developers are even trying to target often niche audiences instead of the classic, we appeal to all audiences. Oh, well, we appeal to casual and competitive players. We don't care about competitive gameplay. Fucking Fortnite. However, gamers will be gamers. An audience with ever-growing expectations of new generational gaming and higher bars set after seeing the success of a great game. But these people actually struggle to see what made those games enjoyable or unique in the first place. And it is just sad that these groups are the most vocal. Just because you are the loudest in the room doesn't mean you are correct. When a fandom gets louder and louder, more loud than the development team, you get a situation like Cyberpunk. A development that was so rushed to please an audience that will just run to the next overproduced quick buck piece of shit like a fucking quad A game. If a developer has a vision for a creation, let them try it without the ever so deafening sound of more and more and more. Tribes 3 has a large audience to please. It is reviving a franchise that has been around for one of the longest running game series ever. If the game just works and feels right, I bet more than the majority will be happy about it. There isn't many more games like this out there, okay, that fucking execute it like the Tribes IP does. I know it has a long way to go before it can even compete at the level that Ascend operated at. However, I am looking at where this might take the franchise, and it looks very promising, okay? They have already done so much, and so much work has gone into delivering a game that feels fucking fantastic. Why can't you just be happy about it? However, nothing will ever feel better than hitting a blue plate special when it matters most. And that's what I play for.